Aloha, welcome back. What's up? Mateo. So, Aloha, like I said, we've got the Aloha t-shirt on today. We are still in Thailand. I was doing some souvenir shopping for the fam back home, and we leave here in a few days. It has been a good trip. We have indeed. Sorry, I'm in this like weird couch where it's like kind of low to the ground, so you have to sit like a sensei. This is what Asian people do, I guess. But I have been training for about a month with Coach Chang. As I said in the last video, we've done the warrior monk thing for about a month, and honestly, I'm ready to rock on out of here. It's a lovely place. I guess I could say where I am now. I'm on one of the islands off the coast. So I'm not near wherever this war is taking place. There's a war in Thailand taking place right now with Cambodia. Kind of came out of the blue. But people were asking me IRL, like, hey, what's going on over there? I'm like, bro, just chilling. And they're like, you going to war? And I'm like, I have not yet received my conscription notice to the Lady Boy Brigade of the 42nd Airborne. Like, I haven't had that happen yet, so I guess not. Hopefully I get out before that happens. But, I just want to do like a stream of consciousness video because it's been a while since I connected with you all. And I just want to give my latest thoughts, which aren't very numerous to tell you the truth. I have passions come in and out for wanting to consult businesses on accepting Monero. I had one come in yesterday, actually a hardware country store, which I looked up, and it's pretty big, actually. They've got, I think a dozen employees, and he's talking about paying some of the employees in Monero and accepting Monero for payment, and it's a pretty big store. I won't disclose any more about it, but more and more people are getting interested, which is good to see. But they have questions as to how to actually make this logistically work. And of course, the compliance thing is a factor too. And, I know a lot of people throw shade at that whole thing, but, these are businesses that are sometimes franchises, and you don't want to be messing with compliance problems, especially if you're a franchise. I mean, if you're a franchise and you're accepting Monero, that's a huge step forward. That's a bigger step forward than one of these treasury corporate companies that are just buying Bitcoin or Ethereum, just want to hold on the balance sheet and pump the price. We're actually trying to do real things out here. But so that was exciting. And to be able to talk to people like that who have the same values as we do and who actually want to make their business into something greater than just income and outcome, it's kind of a cool thing. It's very real and tangible. So I've thought on and off about how it is I can better do that, because also that's an analog thing. I'm trying to use the social media and use the internet just in general as little as possible. It's not what I want to do. It's not really where I want to be. It's just the algorithms, and it just pulls you in. Technology, it has a life of its own, I think. And if you aren't prepared, it can take you. I've come to learn that. Technology, it's like in the Lord of the Rings, where Sauron would inhabit the rings, he would inhabit towers and technology. That's how his spirit came into the world and tried to take it over. Is he would do it, as Tolkien symbolized, through technology. And so if you aren't careful, you can be taken by it yourself. The power of it, the frivolous amusement of it can take your soul, and you may not even remember what you did half the day, but you were just aimlessly amused. It's not healthy. And so I've been thinking, while I do like digital currency, particularly decentralized and private digital currency, like Monero, I've been thinking, well, how can I promote that without using digital mediums? And to some degree, you kind of have to. It's part of the game. But I think that would be a fulfilling thing, to help businesses use this stuff. And I also had the idea because I had Edge Wallet reach out. They were talking about me getting involved in some like ambassador program and promoting the wallet. I think Edge Wallet's great. I'm, to be honest with you, kind of a Cake Wallet loyalist. They were the first sponsor of the channel, and I know people at Cake Wallet, and Vic's great, and the people who work there are great. Just really cool people. Same thing at Edge Wallet. I love Paul. He's a cool guy. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out. Maybe we can make a alliance or something. I don't know. But it'd be cool to like come up with a package. This is my idea. Come up with like a package where it's like you have a wallet provider, you have a point of sale system, and however that works, and you have your accounting software, and you have your gain and loss calculation software, and you have all this stuff kind of put together into a package to where if somebody asks you, hey, how do I accept Monero as a business? You already have everything set and ready to go. You have the logistics down as to how people can be onboarded to this stuff. Because for a lot of people who are not used to crypto, in particular Monero, the prospect of being onboarded to it could be a little bit daunting. And a lot of us, we kind of take that for granted because we've been here for so long. But even me, as somebody who's been here for a while, like I had to ask today on Twitter, okay, how does the point of sale system work? Like the physical one where, you know, you have your Monero wallet, you have your QR code, somebody scans it, they send Monero to that wallet, out prints a receipt. I was like, okay, how do I do that? And Sir James a lot, thank you so much for posting the answer to my questions, and I'll be researching that further. But, you know, that is not something that is going to come easily and quickly to a lot of people who want to adopt this stuff. And if you're a business, it's not as simple and straightforward as just opening up a Cake wallet and getting busy. There's a lot to actually consider with this. Can I pay employees? How does that work? Because, you know, you go to pay an employee in Monero. How do I record that in the payroll system? You know, how does that work? Do I need to report that in the payroll system? You know, how do the gain and loss calculations work? How can I do that efficiently? Because I don't want to calculate gain and loss on every transaction I do, but then I want to keep my books up to date. You know, there's a lot of considerations actually for businesses that are legitimate who are going to try to use Monero, which is going to explode, by the way, because of full chain membership proofs and the ability for there to be a balance of transparency and privacy. You're going to have that default privacy, which is going to go hyper nuclear to the point where you have anonymity sets of 100 million. But you're also going to have optional transparency, which means that there are a lot of business use cases and opportunities which open up. And we've talked about that in another video. You can go check it out. But like this, I think, is something that should be a focus that I'm going to try to focus more on. And to me, that feels more fulfilling and useful than you know, cheerleading online, which I respect the cheerleaders online, don't get me wrong. I used to be one, I still kind of am. But it's, you know, not as interesting to me, I guess. Just maybe because being online has lost its zeal for me. I like living the analog life in the analog world. You know, it's just better. But, you know, shouts out to Monerica. Shouts out to XMR Bazaar, the go-tos for using your Monero. And, you know, what else do I want to talk? I guess there was this whole thing with Cubic recently. I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to go comment on it. I know there's a lot of people talking about it. Some people are freaked out about a 51% attack on Monero because of these people. Some people are saying it's FUD. This is unrealistic. I don't know, man. Like, I didn't even feel the need to bother with this because there's always some kind of Monero FUD popping up that I'm honestly callous to it. It's survived every FUD that has come across, and despite delistings, despite inflation bug considerations, despite this, despite that, it just continues to work as intended, just continues to get better, adapt, and thrive. So what is this Cubic thing? I don't know, it seems like nothing to be concerned about. If there is something to be concerned about and it kills Monero, sucks. I guess that's it. I'm really kind of nonchalant about it. We'll just figure out something else. It's not about the coin. This is kind of one thing that we have focused on here forever. It's not necessarily about the coin. It's about the ethos. It's about the idea of using private digital cash and building economic infrastructure with that. That's the idea. Because if we are to be overzealous, orthodox crypto bros who pick a coin and want to live and die with the coin, then you lose the point of everything that brought you here in the first place. It's about the use case, right? And it's more of like a Platonic philosophy where you're going for the form or the form and not the particular. It's too late to do that kind of philosophy right now, but you know what I mean. And so, if it kills Monero, it is what it is. We just got to figure out another coin to use, adapt. I don't think that's going to happen. For the record, though, I don't think that's going to happen. So the cubic thing, I'm not too worried about. What else has been going on? Let's talk about the stablecoin thing. There was some legislation which was passed recently regarding stablecoins and crypto in general, and virtually gave no good benefit that I could tell to cryptocurrency abroad at large. There was no capital gains exemption. There was supposed to be something like that in the bill. That, for whatever reason, was not included in the final bill. And this was going to give a $600 exemption for capital gains. De minimis is what they call it. So if you pay for your groceries with Bitcoin and you just happen to have a small gain on your Bitcoin because of the volatility in the price, but you believe in using cryptocurrency because it's literally currency, that's supposed to be the original use case of it, and you happen to have a gain, then that's fine. You don't have to report your capital gain because it's de minimis. That didn't happen in the bill. And so because we still have this capital gains tax regime, you have to report every single transaction that you do, which of course stifles the ability for people to use cryptocurrency as it should be used. And this obviously comes to the benefit of stablecoins, right? That is the big push right now, is stablecoins. And of course, there were exemptions included for stablecoins. I think that there's like a $10,000 capital gain tax exemption on stablecoins, which basically means that you don't have to pay tax on stablecoins. There's some volatility and slight depegging, which happens sometimes with Tether and USDC. That's why they included that provision in there. But basically, they're trying to incentivize people to use stablecoins instead of other cryptocurrencies, which have more compliance overhead with it. And because most of the cryptos that are available to the retail masses are surveillance coins, where everything is tracked and everything is traced, you're not going to want to be non-compliant, right? Now, does most of the masses believe that this stuff can't be tracked and traced? I mean, I think at this point, people generally understand that Bitcoin and these major cryptos, Ethereum, you can track and trace this stuff. There have been enough examples where people are like tracking the blockchain looking for criminals for people to know that, okay, this stuff is being tracked and traced. And if you don't know that by now, I'm sorry. But are you going to want to deal with the overhead burden of compliance relative to just using stable coins? That is the question. And so there are responses to this in our community. Zano has come up with a private stable coin called Freedom Dollar, FUSD. I've not used it myself. I've researched it a little bit. Really what I would like is something like a private DAI. That's what I would look for. And, there is confidential layer apparently coming over the next few days for Zano. I haven't really talked about it because I don't understand the technology, so I'm not out here promoting it. But if it works and they can bridge, let's say, DAI, which is a private stable coin, which is, run by a decentralized autonomous organization. And this is like the most trusted stablecoin out there. It's more permissionless. You don't have like the freezing of the blockchain and stuff like that. It is still transparent, which is a problem that Zano could fix if it's bridged to Zano. Um, but I think that would be better than the Freedom Dollar, because the Freedom Dollar, as far as I understand, does have like a third-party custodian for the Zano, which is backing the value of the dollar. I mean, they do have some interesting market-making bots and stuff like that that's algorithmic and keeps the price stable, but I'm still a little bit shaky on the third-party element of it. You can go to see with an auditable wallet, the Zano that backs the Freedom Dollar, but then again, there is still somebody who's running that wallet. And so there is a third-party element to it. As far as I understand, Freedom Dollar people, correct me if I'm wrong. So it'd be better if you had a DAI type of solution to that. And this isn't just arbitrary. I understand that we all would want to use Monero and get everybody on board to Monero. Wouldn't that just be great? But I have been reached out to by people who ask me the question, well, Matt, if I have a business that runs on, 5% margins, which actually is more than a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses, they may not even have profits. They may, be running at a loss or a slight loss. Like Amazon ran at a loss for 20 years before they started to become profitable. A lot of businesses run on losses, and this impacts their ability to get investment and things like this. And so, like, if their question was, if I am using a crypto that is as volatile as Monero or Bitcoin or something like that, and let's say that my customers pay me $100,000 in Monero, and I've still got to pay my accounts receivable to my suppliers, and that $100,000 goes down to, let's say, $95,000 or $90,000. Well, then how am I going to pay my suppliers? You run into some issues with the volatility. And I answered them and I said, yeah, that is a problem, right? I mean, I guess you could use these kinds of things that, allow people to pay you in Monero, and then it gets converted into dollars. I think BitPay does something like that, and I can't think of the others, but there are solutions to that. But if you want to just be XMR only and you want to spread the ecosystem and say to your suppliers, please accept Monero, and you want to set up this incentive structure so that everybody in your circle starts to use private crypto, then it's hard with the volatility. That can make it complicated, because that changes the accounts receivable and payable amounts on the books rather frequently, and that could cause problems, especially if you start to factor receivables and things like that. You start to run into some issues if the valuation on those receivables are changing because they're based in a volatile currency. So, there are people looking for a private stablecoin solution. And so if Zano can figure that out, that's great. I know that in response to the network lack of anonymity issue that we talked about here about a month ago, they have seemingly come up with some solutions, and they have implemented those solutions. To one degree, I think they're also working on other solutions as well that are in the pipeline, like making it Tor compatible. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something that they tried before, which I guess didn't work later. But I was reading the Telegram for Zano, and they are coming up with solutions to make the anonymity problem on the network layer better. So that is something that was a problem, in my opinion, a month ago, and there was debate about that. But I think they are working on fixing that, and I think that is great, because the better that you can be plug and play private, the better, right? And I think Monero does a good job with that with Dandelion, to where you can have some level of IP obfuscation. It's not a silver bullet, but it is something that helps, especially if you get into an environment where they start to ban VPNs. And that is a topic of discussion in the United Kingdom. And in the United Kingdom, they passed some online safety bill or something like that. They're basically trying to censor the internet. They're trying to control people's access to the internet more. General overview from what I could gather. I didn't read too much into it, but people in response started to use VPNs. And in their use of the VPNs to get around and circumvent some of these regulations, you have the government, which is now looking to crack down on VPNs. And if you're trying to use a VPN as a solution to cover up your tracks and your anonymity on the network level when you're using crypto, and that crypto doesn't have something like Dandelion, which provides some level of IP obfuscation, it's not going to be a good thing for those people, and they're going to want to use the thing that provides some level of network anonymity, which is going to be Monero. So that is a consideration to have. And so, you know, I think that the more cryptos that focus on network anonymity, and the more that this is a topic of conversation for people who use private cryptos so that they can up their OPSEC, use Tor, check out the NIM payment network, or just get into using VPNs privately, which you can do if you pay for instance, Mulavad VPN with Monero or Cash in the mail. You could use a VPN privately. Nobody knows you use it. That could be beneficial to you. One thing about that, though, is, and I don't know if the UK will get to this point, although it's definitely getting bad over there. I was talking with somebody here in Thailand who is actually from Myanmar. He's Burmese, and without going too much into the story, I mean, the dude's a super soldier. He doesn't look like it. He's about, I'm not going to identify him, but he's like a little guy, and you wouldn't think he would be able to hurt a fly, but the dude used to fight and train Muay, and if you don't know what Muay is, it's basically Muay Thai, but even to the next level. So you got Western boxing, which is just punching. You got Muay Thai, which is punching, kicking, knees, all those things involved, elbows, and then Muay, you have all those things, and then you also have your head. You can do headbutts, and instead of wearing mitts, these people just straight up wrap their hands in wraps, and then they go after it. They get after it, and they beat the hell out of each other. And if somebody gets knocked out, they splash cold water on them, wake them up so that they get back in the fight. I mean, these are crazy people. These are warriors from the underworld. And this guy used to do that kind of thing. And he showed me the scars and all that. He used to protest against the dictatorial government in Myanmar. I mean, the dude is just absolutely awesome. But he was telling me, and he's a big Monero fan, by the way, and apparently a lot of people in Myanmar are aware of Monero for the reasons that I'll talk about here in a sec. They actually did an internet blackout when the military dictatorship had taken over. And so a lot of people, to get out of that blackout, they would use VPNs. And the VPNs would allow them to route their network to a different country, and then they would be able to access the internet. And so what they did was they shut down or banned VPNs. You were not allowed to use a VPN. And if they found you used in a VPN, they would do intermittent phone checks. You'd go through checkpoints. They'd check your phone. They'd see if you have a VPN. They would arrest you. Pretty crazy, right? Can't even believe this level of totalitarianism is happening in this day and age, but it is. And there is a story of this guy who didn't have a VPN. He had a picture of a VPN from Facebook on his phone, and like they just arrested him just for having the picture, just for even having the picture of the VPN on his phone. So if you get into a situation like that, and you know, at that point they're probably looking for crypto wallets and stuff like that, you're in a bad situation at that point. You probably just have to leave the country. But you know, you get into a situation like that, you're going to want to figure out how to get, well, I don't know what the solution at that point is. I mean, I guess you could try to privately get a VPN. You just delete any trace of it off your phone when you're going through checkpoints and you're smart about it. But you've got to start to work on your OPSEC and do things more privately and not have it just plug and play. You have to actually think things through. Anyways, that was a whole story. I don't even know where I was going with that. But that could turn into a dictatorial bad situation in the UK. All right, what else do I want to talk about? I think that's it. 24 minutes. It's a good kind of catch up with y'all. Let me know if y'all have any questions about anything that we can discuss and talk about. Hopefully I'll be back in late August. I'll have my laptop that has my recording software and stuff on there, so I can make the old classic Monero Mateo videos. We have the news, and we have everything like that. But again, I'm kind of more wanting to focus on just the business adoption element of it. That seems more fun to me. That just seems like I'm more or less building an economic empire of my own to take on this wicked, evil mark of the beast system that we're all a part of, because there's only so much you can do in the digital world, right? You got to get analog. You got to get with the people who are making stuff and shipping stuff and breaking stuff and doing stuff, right? In the analog world. And if we can get them into the private digital cash world and we can build this private infrastructure, not only can we build our own economy and be ready for crackdowns and stablecoin usage and hyperinflation and price controls and the rise of black markets and all the stuff that we've talked about here on the channel a million times. But we can also connect just with each other in general, which is a cool thing, right? It's a cool thing. Us men, we like being in business with each other. It gives us an opportunity to build relationships and friendships with each other, right? And it's just a way to have fun building stuff with each other. And so, like, just being part of this network with a bunch of brilliant people who are industrious and who like to work hard and get things done, I mean, that's kind of a good in and of itself. So that to me seems more fun. And if you're interested in starting a business and accepting Monero, I would get on it. Check out Monerica, check out XMR Bazaar. If you want to accept Zano for your business, you can go on Zano Bay. I call it Z-Bay. And that's kind of new and something that's out there now. So it's a marketplace where people accept Zano for stuff. So that's kind of cool. But that's all I have to say, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all have been well out there, and talk soon. God bless.